With the GTA 6 trailer releasing yesterday, I thought it was a good opportunity to push forward this article that I had sitting in my drafts to see what the GTA Trilogy on Switch runs like after its somewhat tumultuous launch in November 2021. Now, I know your time is precious and I don't want to waste it, so a bit of a disclaimer here is that this won't be an in-depth technical analysis with graphs and charts, just sections of gameplay recorded on how the GTA Trilogy runs on Switch, so you can see exactly how it is. I recently picked up the Trilogy for about $35 Australian as I was a big fan of the original GTA 3. The release of the GTA Definitive Edition was a disaster, with absurd glitches, washed out textures, and PC players not even being able to access the game due to the launcher going offline for 28 hours. The games were developed with the Unreal Engine 4, and AI was used to render textures before being manually edited, meaning some were missed, resulting in some weird character textures and signs. Weather effects like rain simply blinded the player with hyperactive bloom, making it near impossible to navigate unless there were clear skies. It almost seemed like the new dev team of Grove Street Games simply ran the games through some sort of basic software and sent it out to die. To make matters worse, the initial release was met with immediate backlash, spurred on by comments from Rockstar by stating the Trilogy did not launch in a state that meets our own standards of quality or the standards our fans have come to expect. Take-Two CEO Strauss Zelnick would later anger fans further by saying that the errors were simply a glitch and the title did just great for the company. This backlash resulted in the rumoured Red Dead Redemption remaster being canned in favour of a straight port, which surprisingly launched in near-perfect state on Switch despite no multiplayer and a high price point. Things were certainly looking bad for the GTA Trilogy Definitive Edition. Fast forward to today, and we've had several updates and quality of life improvements that have changed the three games quite a bit. So let's take a look at each title individually. So, what's the GTA Trilogy like on Switch these days? Grab your leather jacket, Hawaiian t-shirt, or your white singlet as we revisit the GTA Trilogy in the Definitive Edition.
Here we go again.
Starting off with my favourite of the trilogy is GTA 3. A game much harder than I remember. Thankfully, the new control system makes combat much easier and more forgiving, with the ability to kind of aim like a modern-day third-person shooter. The controls feel good, although sometimes I found myself having to press the X button a few times to enter cars. The game also looks quite nice during my playtime. I didn't notice very many graphical glitches that plagued the initial release, although I did notice some frame rate issues, but nothing too major. The game itself is a great adventure following the silent protagonist Claude as he works to climb the ladder in some of Liberty City's toughest crime organizations. Some of the dialogue and references have aged poorly. There's no denying the cultural significance this game had on modern-day open-world video game structures. Thankfully, the aggressive weather effects and bloom have been improved, making the game look really good overall. I did find that the cars seemed to be a bit soft when hitting objects and felt the damage model was way too aggressive and much more sensitive than the original. The weapon wheel also has a visible box around it that seems to be like it's meant to be a full screen gradient overlay, and it just doesn't seem to sit in the right spot. It's these small imperfections that tarnish the legacy of this trilogy. That being said, the car and character models look good, the cars do handle great, and despite the dialogue audio sounding low quality, GTA 3 is definitely worth your time in its now updated form. Vice City is often touted as the most revered of the trilogy, featuring some big-name actors, celebrity cameos, and of course, a flock of seagulls. The soundtrack is full of quintessential 80s hits, and the Miami-like Vice City was vibrant and full of life. Vice City was also the most buggy and botched of Definitive Edition trilogies, with terrible character models, choppy frame rates, and missing textures. Set in the 80s, the story starts with a Miami Vice-style ambush, leading you to have to find the culprits who ambushed you while paying back the money stolen to the mob. During my playthrough of Vice City, a lot of lighting and texture effects looked great, although I did still see minor choppy frame rate sections and even textures and assets not loading. There's a blurriness about it all though, and I tested this in docked and handheld mode, and the motion blur is prominent in both, especially on the road and even more so on motorcycles. The damage model seems like a huge improvement over GTA 3 though, and the weapon wheel glitch persists in Vice City. The game is still fun, and the other issues that plagued the game at launch like weather effects and glare appear to be fixed, and general performance has overall improved. San Andreas was the most ambitious of the original trilogy, with so much more to do than the previous entries in the series. You could work out or pig out, changing the appearance of the protagonist of the game. First impressions are a bit poorer, with title screen images that are pixelated and much more noticeable than the other two games. Thankfully, this doesn't impact on the fun gameplay. The game manages to deliver a great narrative through varied missions as you play as CJ, who returns to the West Coast following the death of his mum. It's set in the 90s and follows a lot of twists and turns throughout the main story, as well as an abundance of side quests and activities to do on a significantly larger map. Some of the same issues appear, like the weapon wheel overlay and the blurring of roads. I did see a lot of assets struggling to load when moving at speed as well. The frame rate is fairly consistent, and the lighting and textures when they load look good. Characters do look a bit odd in this one, and I noticed in one of the cutscenes on a bicycle, one of the gang members had a really long neck, and when doing hairstyles, CJ's eyes seemed to almost disappear and go really small, and one of the police officer's eyes seemed to pop out in one of the opening cutscenes. Most of these glitches occurred in cutscenes, and I don't think it really detracts from the game too much. It's still a playable and enjoyable game, but overall this entire trilogy lacks the polish. There's no denying that these aren't the best versions of the game, as the originals in their unedited formats were so incredibly popular for a reason. But seeing as you can no longer purchase them, and the only version of GTA you can play on your Switch is the definitive edition, I feel like this trilogy is a good purchase when on sale. Fans of the series may cringe at some of the changes in character models, but the enjoyment and production value, including gameplay of these games, cannot be disputed. Newcomers to GTA will find a good set of games to spend about 100 hours in completing, should they be so inclined. The updates have certainly made this iteration of Grand Theft Auto better, just not the definitive. Hey there, thanks for watching my video. I hope you enjoyed it. Now, I can't thank you enough for your support. Things have moved a lot faster than I expected with What's It Like, and it's becoming my full-time job. Best way to continue supporting me if you liked my content is to keep watching What's It Like. It doesn't cost a cent, and it will always be free. But if you would like to help in other ways, you can always buy me a coffee by visiting this link here, or if you would like to join my Patreon, I show behind-the-scenes insights into how a gaming website operates. I'm so grateful to be here making this content, and I'm even more grateful that you're here watching it with me. Thank you so much.